The morning air was cool on June's face as he walked around his small garden. At 73 years old, the retired vet enjoyed these quiet moments. His home sat on the edge of a small village, 2 hours from Seoul. Here, the skies were clear and the noise of the city seemed far away. Last night had been strange. June had seen lights in the sky, bright blue lights that moved in ways no airplane could. He had watched from his porch for almost an hour before going to bed. In the morning, he had almost forgotten about it, until he saw the hole in his garden. It wasn't very big, about the size of a dinner plate. The dirt around it looked burned. June walked closer, his old knees creaking as he bent down to look. "What in the world?" he muttered. In the center of the hole was a metal ball, about the size of a basketball. It was silver and smooth, with no marks or seams. June reached out slowly and touched it with one finger. It was cool, not hot as he had expected. As soon as he touched it, a line appeared on the surface. The line grew, splitting the ball into 2 halves. They opened with a soft hiss. June fell back, landing hard on his behind. His heart raced. He should call someone. The police, the army, anyone. But curiosity kept him there, watching as the ball opened fully. Inside was a creature. June had been a vet for 45 years. He had seen all kinds of animals: dogs, cats, cows, snakes, even exotic pets people should not have kept. But he had never seen anything like this. The creature was small, about the size of a large cat. It had 6 legs, not 4, each ending in soft pads like a cat's paws. Its body was covered in scales that shifted from blue to green as it breathed. And it was breathing. Shallow, quick breaths that told June it was hurt or scared or both. Its head lifted weakly. 2 large eyes opened, eyes that were too smart, too aware to belong to any animal June had ever treated. "Oh my," June whispered. The creature made a soft sound, somewhere between a whine and a chirp. One of its 6 legs was bent at an odd angle, definitely hurt. Without thinking, June's vet instincts took over. He stood up and hurried to his house. He returned with a soft towel and his old medical bag. After 45 years of fixing broken animals, some habits never left. "Easy now," he said softly, though he knew the creature couldn't understand him. Or could it? Those eyes followed his movements with clear intelligence. As June gently lifted the creature from the pod, he noticed something around its neck, a collar of some kind. It was made of a material he couldn't identify, flexible but strong. There were markings on it that he first thought were just designs. But looking closer, they seemed more like writing. The creature didn't fight as June carried it into his house. He set up a bed in a large box, lining it with soft blankets. Years of experience let him examine the injured leg without causing more pain. It was broken, but a clean break. Something he could fix. As he worked, splinting the delicate limb, the creature watched him. Its scales had shifted to a calm blue color. It made no sound as he bandaged the leg, only watched with those intelligent eyes. "What are you?" June asked. "And where did you come from?" The creature blinked slowly, its mouth opened slightly, showing small flat teeth, not the teeth of a predator. It made that chirping sound again. June noticed how the creature's scales changed color with its mood. Blue seemed calm. When he touched the injured leg, the scales flashed red before settling to blue again. He gave it water in a shallow dish. The creature drank carefully, using its front legs to hold the dish steady. The way it moved, the way it watched him, this was no ordinary animal. As night fell, June sat beside the box, watching his strange visitor sleep. The collar's markings caught the lamplight, seeming to shift and change. He needed help to understand what they meant. Tomorrow, he would call his niece Nari. She knew about languages and writing. She would help him understand what had fallen from the sky into his garden. But tonight, he simply watched over his visitor from the stars. Nari arrived at her uncle's house the next afternoon. She carried a small bag with her laptop and books. As a teacher of languages at Seoul University, She was busy most days, but Uncle June's phone call had sounded urgent. "Uncle, what is so important that I needed to come right away?" she asked as she stepped inside the small house. June put a finger to his lips. "Speak softly," he whispered. "I don't want to scare it." Nari frowned. "Scare what?" Instead of answering, June led her to the living room. There, in a box lined with blankets, was the strangest creature Nari had ever seen. Its scales shifted from blue to a curious yellow as it looked at her. "What is that?" Nari gasped, keeping her voice low. "I don't know," June said. "It fell from the sky yesterday, in some kind of pod." Nari moved closer, kneeling by the box. The creature watched her with large, intelligent eyes. It had 6 legs, and one was wrapped in a bandage. "It was hurt," June explained. "I fixed its leg, but that's not why I called you." He pointed to the collar around the creature's neck. "Look at these marks. They look like writing." Nari leaned in to study the collar. The creature stayed still, as if it knew they were trying to help. The markings were unlike any writing Nari had seen before. They seemed to glow softly from within the material of the collar. "This is not Korean or any human language I know," she said. She took out her phone and snapped several pictures of the collar from different angles. "I need to show these to my friend Da. He studies codes and patterns. If anyone can make sense of this, he can." Just then, the TV in the corner of the room turned on by itself. The news was showing. "More reports are coming in of strange objects falling from the sky," the newswoman said. "Small pods have been found in Japan, China, America, and Europe. Each one contains a creature that experts cannot identify." June and Nari looked at each other in shock. "There are more of them," June whispered. "The government asks anyone who finds one of these pods to call this number right away." The newswoman continued. "We should call," Nari said. June looked at the creature, which had moved closer to him. Its scales had turned a deep blue. It made a soft chirping sound. "Not yet," June decided. "Let's see what Da says about the writing first." Nari sent the pictures to Da, with a quick message explaining the situation. Less than an hour later, her phone rang. "Nari, where did you get these pictures?" Da's voice was excited. "The pattern repeats in a way that suggests language. It's not random. And look at this." He sent a new image to her phone. Nari opened it. Da had compared the markings to sound waves. "I ran it through a program," Dad explained. "If we assume these marks represent sounds and play them." He sent an audio file next. When Nari played it, a soft, musical voice came from her phone. The creature in the box suddenly perked up, its scales turning bright gold. It made an answering chirp that sounded almost like the voice from the phone. It recognized the sounds. Nari exclaimed. "I've been working on it for the last hour," Daz said. "The pattern suggests a simple message repeated. Based on how the patterns change, I think it says something like, 'Please care for Miri. We will return.'" "Miri," Jun said softly. The creature looked at him, its head tilting. "Is that your name? Miri?" The creature chirped again, moving toward June. "It responds to the name," Nari said in wonder. "Uncle, this isn't some wild animal. Someone sent it here. Someone wants us to take care of it." "But who?" June asked. "And why did they send it to us?" Before Nari could answer, her phone buzzed with news alerts. More pods had been found, hundreds of them, all around the world, and every creature had a collar with the same type of markings. June gently stroked Miri's head. The scales turned a peaceful blue under his touch. "Whatever the reason," he said, "I think they chose well. We will take care of you, Miri." The creature made a soft, contented sound and closed its eyes. 1 week after Miri arrived, the world had changed. Every TV channel showed pictures of the creature's people, now called visitors. Leaders from many countries held emergency meetings. Scientists worked day and night to understand the visitors. June sat on his couch watching the news. Miri rested beside him, its scales a calm blue. The creature's broken leg was healing well. The Korean government has opened a special research center for the visitors, the newswoman said. All citizens who found pods are asked to bring the creatures to this center. June frowned. He didn't want to give Miri to strangers. The creature had become his friend. It ate the soft foods he prepared, slept near his bed, and followed him around the house. The phone rang. It was Neri. "Uncle, have you seen the news?" she asked. "Yes. They want me to bring Miri to that center." "I know someone who works there," Neri said. "Dr. Han is a good person. He studies animals from other places. Maybe he can help us understand Miri better." June looked at Miri. The creature seemed to understand they were talking about it. Its scales turned a worried purple. "I'll go," June decided, "but only if I can stay with Miri." The next day, June, Nari, and Miri traveled to Seoul. The research center was a large building with many security guards. People with other visitors waited in line to enter. Inside, a tall man in a white coat met them. He had kind eyes and a gentle smile. "I am Dr. Han," he said. "Neri told me about your visitor. Thank you for bringing it here." "His name is Miri," Jun said, "and I'm staying with him." Dr. Han nodded. "Of course. We want the visitors to feel safe. Please, come with me." He led them to a large room filled with plants and soft places to rest. Other visitors moved around freely, their scales showing different colors. Some had human companions, others were with scientists. "This is our main habitat," Dr. Han explained. "We try to make it comfortable for the visitors. We've learned they prefer warm places with lots of plants." Miri's scales turned bright green at the sight of the plants. It made a happy chirping sound. "What have you learned about them?" Nari asked. "Many things," Dr. Han said. "They eat only plants. They sleep about 6 hours a day. And most interesting, they seem to form special bonds with their human caregivers." "Bonds?" June asked. "Yes. Watch." Dr. Han pointed to a woman sitting with her visitor. The woman had her eyes closed, but was pointing to different plants. Each time, the visitor would bring the exact plant she pointed to. "She's not looking," Neri said in surprise. "The visitors can share thoughts with humans they trust," Dr. Han explained. "Not words, but feelings and pictures. We think it's why they were sent to us. They need this connection." "Not all countries agree," Dr. Han continued, his face becoming serious. "Some are keeping the visitors locked up. Others want to study them in ways that might hurt them. And a few—" He stopped. "A few what?" Joan asked. "A few countries have destroyed the visitors they found. They are afraid." June felt Miri press against his leg. The creature's scales had turned a dark blue, almost black. "That's terrible," Neri said. "Here in Korea, we've decided to learn from them," Dr. Han said. "We believe they were sent here for a reason. If you agree, you and Miri can help us understand that reason." He showed them to a small room with 2 beds, a bathroom, and a garden view. "You can stay here if you wish, Mr. Jun. We'll provide everything you need. All we ask is that you and Miri join our daily study sessions." Jun looked at Miri. The creature was watching him, those intelligent eyes seeming to ask a question. "What do you think, Miri? Should we stay and help?" Miri chirped and nudged Jun's hand with its head. Its scales turned a bright, clear gold. "I think that's a yes," Neri smiled. As they settled into their new room, Jun wondered what would happen next. All around the world, humans were meeting these strange visitors from space. Some with fear, some with curiosity, but here, in this room, Jun felt only friendship for the small creature that had fallen into his garden. 1 month had passed since Jun and Miri moved to the research center. Every day, they joined Dr. Han and other scientists for tests and studies. The tests were simple. Jun would think of a picture, and they would see if Miri could understand it. At first, nothing happened. Miri would tilt its head, scales turning a confused yellow. But as days went by, something changed. One morning, June sat in a quiet room with Miri, Dr. Han, and Neri watched from behind a window. "Think of something simple," Dr. Han said through a speaker, "a shape or a color." June closed his eyes. He pictured a red circle in his mind. He tried to make the image clear and strong. Miri's scales turned bright red. The creature moved in a perfect circle on the floor, then sat and looked at June. "Did you see that?" Neri said excitedly. Miri made a red circle. "Try something harder," Dr. Han suggested. June thought of his old house with its small garden. He pictured the flowers, the trees, and the wooden bench where he liked to sit. Miri's scales shifted to green and brown. The creature moved around the room, stopping at places as if marking the locations of trees and flowers. Then it sat still, like it was on a bench. "Amazing," Dr. Han whispered. But the real surprise came next. As June opened his eyes, he felt something strange in his mind. It wasn't a voice or words. It was a feeling, then a picture. He saw a beautiful world with two suns in the sky. Strange plants grew everywhere. Creatures like Miri played in fields of purple grass. Tall beings with 4 arms watched over them, their blue skin shining in the light of the twin suns. "June, are you okay?" Nari asked, entering the room. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I saw." June paused, trying to find the right words. "I saw Miri's home." Over the next few days, Miri shared more images with June. The pictures became clearer, more detailed. June learned about the Eridani, the beings who had sent the visitors to Earth. They were dying, June told Dr. Han and Nari as they sat in the common room one evening. A great darkness was coming to their star system. They knew they couldn't save themselves. So they sent their pets away. Nari asked, "To save them?" "Yes," June said, "but it's more than that." The Eridani and the visitors had a special bond. They could share thoughts and feelings, just like Miri and I can now. The Eridani loved their companions deeply. "But why Earth?" Dr. Han asked. "Why send them here?" June looked at Miri, who was watching him with those intelligent eyes. The creature sent him another image. Earth broadcasts traveling through space, television shows, radio, internet signals. The Eridani had been watching humans for many years. "They saw something in us," Jum said. "Something good. They saw how we care for our animals, our pets. They believed we would care for their companions too. So they trusted us with what they loved most," Neri said softly. Miri chirped, its scales turning a warm gold color. It sent one more image to June, the last days of the Eridani world. The sky growing dark as their sun began to fail. The Eridani gathering their beloved companions, placing them in pods, sending them toward Earth with heavy hearts, but also with hope. They didn't have room in their escape ships for everyone, June explained. They had to make terrible choices. They sent their companions to us because they wanted them to live, even if the Eridani themselves did not survive. Dr. Han looked thoughtful. "Then we have a responsibility. These creatures are not just visitors. They are a trust given to us by a dying civilization." Miri moved to June's side, pressing against his leg. Its scales were blue again, calm and peaceful. "We won't let them down," June said, gently stroking Miri's head. "We will care for them as the Eridani would have wanted." That night, the story of the Eridani spread around the world. People who had feared the visitors began to understand. These weren't invaders or spies. They were orphans from a lost world, sent to Earth by those who loved them. And with that understanding, the bond between humans and visitors grew stronger. 3 months had passed since the visitors arrived on Earth. June and Miri still lived at Dr. Han's research center. They had their own small room with a garden view. Every day, they helped the scientists learn more about the visitors. One morning, June sat in the common area drinking tea. Miri rested beside him, scales a peaceful blue. Dr. Han walked over with a tablet in his hand. "Good morning, June," Dr. Han said. "We have some amazing news. Visitors all over the world are showing new abilities." "What kind of abilities?" June asked. "They can do more than just share thoughts," Dr. Han said. In Japan, a visitor detected cancer in its caregiver before any medical tests could find it. In Canada, another visitor helped clean a polluted lake by eating harmful plants. They seem to have special powers that help humans. As they talked, an old man named Mr. Park entered the room. He was a farmer who lived near the center and often brought fresh vegetables for the kitchen. Today, he looked tired. "Are you okay, Mr. Park?" June asked. "Just tired," Mr. Park said. "I've had headaches for weeks now. The doctor says it's nothing. But I can't work as long as I used to." Miri, who had been resting, suddenly stood up. Its scales turned a deep orange. It walked to Mr. Park and stared at him with those big, intelligent eyes. "What's it doing?" Mr. Park asked, a little scared. "It's okay," June said. "Miri is friendly." Miri made a soft chirping sound. It circled Mr. Park 3 times, then stopped and placed one of its 6 legs on the farmer's foot. The scales on Miri's leg glowed bright white. June felt a picture form in his mind. A dark spot inside a human head. The image was clear, like he was seeing through Miri's eyes. "Dr. Han," June said slowly, "Miri is showing me something. I think Mr. Park is sick." Dr. Han knelt beside Miri. "What do you see?" "A dark spot in his head. Here." June pointed to the right side of Mr. Park's head. "Miri thinks it shouldn't be there." Dr. Han looked concerned. "Mr. Park, with your permission, I'd like our medical team to check you, just to be safe." Mr. Park agreed. 2 hours later, after a brain scan, the center's doctor called them all to her office. "Mr. Park, you have a small tumor in your brain," she said gently. "It's in the early stages. With treatment, you have an excellent chance of recovery." Mr. Park looked shocked, but my regular doctor didn't find anything. "It's very small. Normal tests wouldn't have found it for months, maybe years." By then, she didn't finish. Mr. Park turned to Miri. "This creature saved my life." "Yes," Dr. Han said. "And you're not the first. Visitors around the world are showing similar abilities." That evening, Neri visited June and Miri. She had been working with Da to learn more about the visitors' language. "We think we know why the Eridani sent their pets to us," Neri said. "The visitors weren't just pets. They were helpers." "Helpers?" June asked. "Yes. We believe the Eridani changed their pets over many years. They made them able to detect problems, clean environments, and even help with farming. The visitors were part of their daily lives, like special tools that were also loved friends." Miri chirped as if agreeing. Its scales showed a pattern of blue and gold. "Do you think the Eridani knew their pets would help us this way?" June asked. "I think that's exactly why they sent them," Neri said. "They knew their world was ending, but they wanted their beloved companions to live on. And they chose us because they saw something in humans that they liked." June gently stroked Miri's head. "What did they see in us, I wonder?" "Kindness, maybe," Neri suggested. "Or the potential for it." As if understanding, Miri climbed into June's lap. Its scales turned the deepest, most peaceful blue June had ever seen. News of Mr. Park's miracle spread quickly. More people brought their sick friends and family to meet the visitors. And all around the world, the bond between humans and their alien companions grew stronger every day. 6 months after the visitors arrived, most people had come to accept them. News shows talked about the good things they did. Children read books about them. Stores sold toys that looked like them. But not everyone was happy. A group called Earth Pure began to appear on TV and the internet. They said the visitors were dangerous. They claimed the aliens were planning to take over Earth, starting with these pets. "They're making us trust them," the leader of Earth Pure said on a popular news show. Then their real masters will come and find us weak and open to attack. June watched this on TV in the common room of the research center. Miri sat beside him, scales turning a worried gray. Don't worry, June told Miri. Most people don't believe them. But as days passed, Earth Pure got louder. More people joined them. Some politicians began to say the visitors should be locked up until we knew more about them. One evening, as June and Miri walked in the center's garden, Dr. Han rushed out to meet them. "Come inside quickly," he said. His face looked worried. "There's trouble." In the main building, staff members were moving quickly, locking doors and windows. "What's happening?" June asked. "Earth Pure," Dr. Han said. "They're planning to attack research centers like ours. They want to take the visitors." "But why?" June asked. "They believe the visitors are weapons or spies," Neri said, joining them. "They want to study them their way, or—" She stopped, not wanting to finish. "Or destroy them," Dr. Han said quietly. June felt Miri press against his leg. The creature's scales were dark gray now, almost black. "We won't let them hurt you," June said, kneeling beside Miri. Dr. Han's phone rang. His face grew even more serious as he answered. "They're coming here," he said after hanging up. "Tonight. We need to move the visitors to a safe place." They began to gather the visitors, 20 in all, into the center of the building. As they worked, they heard cars outside, loud voices, the sound of glass breaking. "They're here," Dr. Han said. He looked at his phone. "The police are coming, but they'll be too late." The main doors shook as someone tried to break them down. June and the others stood in front of the visitors, ready to protect them. The doors burst open. 10 men in black clothes rushed in. They carried sticks and chains. "Give us the aliens," one man shouted. "They're a threat to Earth." "They are not a threat," Dr. Han said calmly. "They're helping us." "Lies," the man shouted. "We've seen what they can do. They control minds. They make people sick." "No, they heal people," Jun said. "They help us." "Old man, move aside," the leader said. He raised his stick. Suddenly, Miri darted forward, placing itself between June and the man. Before anyone could move, Miri's scales turned bright red. A high-pitched sound filled the room. The men covered their ears, dropping their weapons. A soft golden light spread from Miri to the other visitors. They moved as one, forming a line in front of the humans who had cared for them. The light grew brighter, forcing the attackers to back away. "See," the leader shouted, though his voice shook. "They have powers. They're dangerous." Just then, police sirens sounded outside. The men from Earth Pure ran, pushing past each other to escape. When they were gone, Miri stopped making the sound. Its scales returned to blue. It seemed tired but unhurt. "What did they do?" Nari asked in wonder. "They protected us," Jun said. "They worked together." Dr. Han looked troubled. "This is a problem. Earth Pure will use this as proof that the visitors are dangerous. They'll say they have weapons. But they only defended themselves," Jun argued. "They didn't hurt anyone." "That may not matter," Dr. Han said. "People are easily frightened of things they don't understand." That night, videos of the visitors' defense spread online. Earth Pure called it an alien attack. More people began to fear the visitors. Jun sat in his room, Miri beside him. The creature seemed to understand the danger. "We need to leave," Jun decided. "It's not safe here anymore." Miri chirped softly. Its scales turned a determined gold. Together, they packed a small bag and slipped out into the night. Jun, Nari, and Dai had been hiding with Miri for 2 weeks. They stayed in Dai's small cabin in the mountains, far from the city. The cabin had no close neighbors, which made it a good place to hide. News reports showed Earth Pure growing stronger. More people believed their lies about the visitors. Some countries had started to lock up the creatures or worse. I can't believe how quickly things change, Neri said as she cooked dinner. 6 months of helping people, and now everyone is afraid. Not everyone, Jun said. Many people still support the visitors. They remember how much good they've done. Day sat at a small desk, working on his computer. The problem is fear, he said. Earth Pure knows how to make people afraid. Miri had been quiet all day. The creature sat by the window, looking at the sky. Its scales were a deep purple, a color they hadn't seen before. Is Miri sick? Nari asked. I don't think so, Jun said. Just sad, maybe. Suddenly, Miri stood up. It made a chirping sound and ran to Daz's desk. The creature put its front legs on the desk and looked at Daz's computer. What is it, Miri? Daz asked. Miri's scales turned bright yellow. It tapped the computer with one leg. I think it wants to use your computer, Jun said. Daz looked surprised but moved aside. Okay. Miri climbed onto the desk. It placed all 6 legs on the keyboard and closed its eyes. The scales on Miri's body began to glow and pulse with light. What's happening? Nari whispered. The computer screen flickered. Strange symbols appeared, similar to the marks on Miri's collar. The symbols changed rapidly. It's using the computer, Dai said in amazement. But how? After a few minutes, Miri stepped back. Its scales returned to normal blue. The screen showed a strange pattern of lines and dots. Is that code? Nari asked. Dai looked closely at the screen. Yes, but like nothing I've seen before. It looks like. Wait. He typed quickly, running the code through a program. I think it's a signal. Miri created a signal. A signal to whom? Jun asked. Before Dai could answer, his equipment beeped. A new window opened on the computer screen. Something's responding, Daz said. His voice was quiet with awe. They all watched as new symbols appeared on the screen. Miri chirped excitedly, its scales flashing gold and blue. Can you understand any of this? Jun asked Da. Not the language, but the pattern, Daz said. It's similar to how we would communicate across space. Simple math first, then building to more complex ideas. Day worked through the night, trying to understand the signal. By morning, his eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he was smiling. I know what's happening, he said. Miri sent a signal to space, and something answered. What answered? Nari asked. The Eridani, Daz said. They're not all gone. Some survived. Jun looked at Miri in shock. Is this true? Miri chirped and sent a mental image to Jun, a small group of ships, far away in space, carrying the last few thousand Eridani. They survived, Jun said. And they're checking on their pets. More than that, Daz said. Based on what I can understand, the visitors were supposed to send back information about Earth, about us. Miri just sent a complete report. What kind of report? Nari asked. Everything, Daz said. How we treated the visitors, how most people welcomed them, but also about Earth Pure and the growing fear. Why would they want this information? Jun asked. Miri sent another image to Jun's mind. The Eridani ships changing direction, coming toward Earth. They're coming here, Jun said, his voice barely a whisper. Are they coming to take back their pets? Nari asked. Or for something else? Miri's scales turned a color they had never seen before, silver with tiny points of light, like stars in a night sky. The creature looked at each of them, then back at the computer where another message was appearing. What does it say? Jun asked. Day studied the new message. I think they're asking for our help. The news spread quickly. Da had shared Miri's message with Dr. Han, who told government officials. Soon, all world leaders knew the Eridani were coming to Earth. 3 days after Miri sent the signal, a new message arrived from space. The Eridani would reach Earth in 1 month. They wanted to know if their companions were welcome here. If not, they would take them away. This created a big problem. Most countries called emergency meetings. The United Nations held special talks. People all over the world had different opinions. We should welcome both the visitors and the Eridani. Some said, they have helped us. We should let them take their pets and leave. Others argued, we don't need aliens here. This is a trick, Earth Pure warned. When the Eridani arrive, they will attack. The world had to make a choice. June watched all this from the safety of a new place. The Korean government had moved him, Nari, Da, and Miri to a protected house near Seoul. They were important now because Miri could talk to the Eridani. What do you think will happen? June asked Dr. Han, who visited them daily. I don't know, Dr. Han said. Many people love the visitors and want them to stay. But Earth Pure has made many people afraid. One morning, a government official came to their house. She wore a formal suit and looked very serious. Mr. June, she said, the United Nations has asked if you would speak at their meeting tomorrow. You were the first to care for a visitor. They want to hear your story. June was surprised. Me? I'm just an old vet. I'm not a speaker. That's exactly why they want you, the official said. You're not a politician or a scientist. You're just a kind person who helped a lost creature. June looked at Miri. The creature's scales were bright gold, as if encouraging him. I'll do it, June said. But Miri comes with me. The next day, June stood before the United Nations. Cameras broadcast his speech to the whole world. Miri sat beside him, scales of calm blue. I am not an important man, June began. I am a retired animal doctor who found a strange creature in my garden. I could have been afraid. I could have hurt Miri or called people to take it away. But instead, I helped, because that's what good people do when they find someone lost or hurt. He told them about Miri, how it helped Mr. Park, how the visitors had helped people all over the world. Now we have a choice, June continued. We can welcome these creatures and learn from them, or we can send them away because we are afraid. He looked at the world leaders. If we send them away, what does that say about us? That we are so scared of something different that we reject a hand of friendship. The Eridani trusted us with their most beloved companions. They saw something good in humanity. Let's show them they were right. As June finished, Miri stood up. Its scales turned silver with points of light, like in the cabin. The creature made a soft sound that echoed through the quiet room. At the same time, all around the world, every visitor did the same thing. Their scales turned silver with stars. They made the same sound. It was as if they were all connected, all asking the same question. Can we stay? The effect was powerful. Videos of the moment spread across the internet. People who had been afraid saw the beauty of the visitors. They saw how these creatures wanted to be part of human life. But Earth Pure wasn't finished. That night, they announced a plan to attack all places where visitors were kept. They wanted to destroy the aliens before the Eridani arrived. We have 2 weeks, Dr. Han told June when he returned from the UN. 2 weeks to change enough minds before Earth Pure acts, and then 2 more weeks before the Eridani arrive. June nodded. He looked at Miri, who was watching him with those intelligent eyes. Then we have work to do, he said. We need to show the world who the visitors really are. The day Earth Pure planned their attack, something amazing happened. All across the world, at exactly the same time, every visitor began to glow. Their scales turned bright gold, and they sent a single thought to every human nearby. Asterisk, we are one. We are many asterisk. People who had never felt the visitors' thoughts before suddenly understood them. Mothers, teachers, farmers, and even some who had feared the aliens felt the gentle touch of the visitors' minds. Images flowed into human minds everywhere. The Eridani homeworld, beautiful and lost. The love between the Eridani and their companions. The journey to Earth, the hope that humans would be kind. And something more, a warning. The visitors showed people Earth Pure's plans. They revealed the names of leaders and the places they would attack. How do they know this? Dr. Han asked June as they watched the news. They're connected, June said. All of them, everywhere. They can share what each one sees and hears. Within hours, police around the world arrested Earth Pure leaders. Their plans were stopped before they began. People who had followed them out of fear now turned away in shame. 2 weeks later, the Eridani ships entered Earth orbit. They did not land. Instead, they sent a message that everyone on Earth could hear, translated into all languages. We are the last of the Eridani. We sent our beloved companions to you because we saw kindness in your broadcasts to the stars. We hoped you would care for them while we tried to save some small part of our civilization. Now we have come to ask, may they stay with you? And is there room for us as well? The United Nations called an emergency vote. In the largest agreement in human history, the countries of Earth said yes. 1 month later, June stood in a large field outside Seoul. Beside him were Miri, Nari, Da, and Dr. Han. Above them, a small ship descended slowly from the sky. It was the first Eridani ship to land on Earth. The door opened. 3 tall figures stepped out. They looked almost like humans, but with blue skin and 4 arms. They wore simple clothes with patterns like those on the visitors' collars. Miri ran forward, scales flashing with joy. The tallest Eridani knelt down and held out all 4 arms. Miri leaped into the embrace. The Eridani spoke in a musical voice that June somehow understood. Thank you for caring for Miri, the alien said. I am Ta, once a teacher on our world. I am June, he replied. Miri has been a good friend. Ta looked sad. We thought we were sending our companions to new homes forever. We did not know if any of us would survive. Now we must ask, should they stay with you or return to us? Before June could answer, Miri jumped down from Ta's arms. The creature walked halfway between June and Ta, then turned its head back and forth, looking at each of them. I think Miri doesn't want to choose, June said with a smile. Ta made a sound like gentle laughter. Perhaps there is no need to choose. On our homeworld, the visitors lived with us, but were free to form bonds with many. Perhaps here, they can connect our 2 peoples instead of belonging to just one. Over the next year, the Eridani settled on Earth. There were only a few thousand of them, not enough to threaten humans. They shared their knowledge of medicine, clean energy, and the stars. The visitors moved freely between human and Eridani homes, building bridges between the species. 5 years after the first pod fell in June's garden, he sat on his porch watching the stars. Miri rested beside him, scales a peaceful blue. On his other side sat Ta, who had become his friend. Do you think we'll ever go there? June asked, pointing to the stars. Yes, Ta said. Already, your people and mine are building better ships. The visitors will go with us, of course. They have always liked adventures. Miri chirped in agreement, scales turning silver with points of light. Together, the 3 friends, human, Eridani, and visitor, looked up at the night sky, filled with possibilities and new beginnings.